Welcome to the Holding Time podcast. Here we discuss breastfeeding in all its complexity, the ups and downs, the challenges, the triumphs. Whether you're expectant, a new mother, or simply interested, I hope you'll appreciate the incredible warrior women who are featured in this series.
I was determined to breastfeed, and I did some courses online, like the Baby Academy, do online breastfeeding courses. I read a lot of books just because I was determined to do it. So I was like, if I'm going to do it, I need to understand it, because I didn't understand. So I kind of educated myself. So I didn't even think about bottle feeding. I was just like, I'm going to do it. And so the support was amazing. And also I used Koala. They did a one-to-one breastfeeding consultation because he was cluster feeding at night. So I was up every hour. And that was like painful. That was like torture. And they recommended co-sleeping, which was a life changer. That was amazing. I'm still co-sleeping now. And I did prenatal classes in Indonesia. So I started kind of learning about breastfeeding then. This is what our bodies are meant to do. Like when you learn a bit about the science, because it is a bit of science, you need to learn like the hormones and the time of day and, you know, how our hormones are so interlinked with the baby and how it's so natural. And that's something I think we don't have in society. And also I think with the education, we don't necessarily receive that from our families, which maybe we used to in the past, you know, but now it's kind of maybe skipped a few generations. People make comments where they think they're being helpful and it's not helpful. So it's things like I think my son might have a dairy allergy because he's got eczema, but he's got no other symptoms. So I stopped having dairy. So my brother's like, oh, just put him on a formula. You can get a dairy-free formula. And it's like any opportunity to be like, oh, you can bottle feed. Often people say it. And sometimes I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to talk about breastfeeding honestly as well, I think, because you're scared of insulting women who haven't breastfed. And that's difficult. Like I've noticed in baby groups, you can only honestly talk about breastfeeding with other moms who breastfeed. Before I had a baby, I was really like carefree. Like with my job, I work in the rainforest. I'd go to forest fires. We have snakes in our camp, so I'm just like, yeah, it's okay. You know, whatever, it's fine. Not really thinking about the dangers, you know, going to dangerous places. But now, since I've had a baby, I feel really vulnerable. And even going to the park, I'm like, oh, there's people playing football. That football might hit us, or this person's going past on a bike. That bike might hit, you know, he might go into the pram or something. So I'm kind of like looking for dangers everywhere, which I never had that before because of just the nature of who I am and my job. But I'd say since I gave birth, that's definitely been a big change for me. I've just gone back to work after 8 months, but I had considered initially I'll go back after 5 months with the condition I'll wait and see how I feel. We got to like 5 months and I was like, I can't work now. Like my brain, there's just no way I'm in a place where I'm ready to work. But it got to like 6 months after he was born. I was like, okay, I'm ready now to kind of start thinking about work. So I've gone part-time from the UK, which I can do with my job. But like in Indonesia, women only get like 3 months maternity leave by law. And it's like, how do women like function? Like I just don't. And it makes sense. Like we're kind of wired to be devoted to the baby, you know, to ensure the survival of our young, we need to like totally be like, right, you're just my only thing now. All my energy is on you. And then we expect maybe women to work after a few months. I know how women cope in that situation. I've got really good friends in Barcelona and we work together in Borneo, and my friend Joanna, she's breastfeeding both her kids. And we were living together and every night she'd be breastfeeding and it just became a normal part of what I'd see. And she said in Spain, it's unusual for women not to breastfeed. Like the rates are I think it's a reverse. Like here it's more likely to bottle feed, whereas there it's more likely to breastfeed. And I think in the UK we just need to be just more exposed to it and not for it to be hidden away in a room. Or like I was in the doctor's and I'd had the appointment and I breastfed my son in the waiting room and I was in the corner. It was quite discreet. I was fine because I'm not really bothered about feeding outside. I'm like whatever. And 2 members of staff came up to me and were like, "Oh, do you want to go into the room there? We've got a private room if you want to feed him." And I was like, I know they were being nice because they're trying to consider it. Maybe I feel a bit awkward, but at the same time, it was kind of like hiding me away. That's how it felt as well. Because I was like, "Oh no, I'm totally fine." I must have looked relaxed because I'm always relaxed, with that situation. But it was almost like, "Oh, you need to be, hidden." And I think we just need to see it. Even things like in children's books, not seeing bottle-fed babies, seeing breastfed babies. Oh, I went to a party and with my son, and I was talking to a friend, and I was like, "Oh, do you mind if I feed him?" And she was like, "No, it's fine." And then she just presumed I was going to get out a bottle, and I started breastfeeding him. And she was like, "Oh, I just thought you were going to bottle feed." And then she kind of questioned herself because she had that assumption, "Oh, you feed, it's with a bottle." So I think projects like this are great just to have, get people talking about it. And we have a policy in our organisation. We have a baby room in our office, so women can hire their own nannies, which is affordable in Indonesia. It's not like here. So that they bring their babies to work. So quite on a regular basis, we could have 3 or 4 or 5 babies and toddlers in the office, and it's totally fine. Like, I can't imagine it being here like it would be here. But, one of our staff could be holding a baby and doing a bit of work, and then it's passed to someone else, and it's totally accepted. So I think I had that influence. And then when it came to me, like I said, there was no other option. It was I'm just going to breastfeed. But I think I realised in the UK, to get the support, I had to really do it myself. And that's why I was like, I'm going to educate myself, because I knew my mum didn't really she had some experience, but she didn't have the confidence. I was fortunate because he latched on straight away. I produced a good quantity of milk. The only issue is I needed some adjustment with the latch. So I didn't actually, with the support in terms of the NHS, it was quite limited what I needed. So I was quite fortunate that my breastfeeding was quite smooth. Other than the cluster feed, I didn't need to access a lot of support from the NHS. My healthcare, they all seemed quite knowledgeable from what I know. But that's one of the challenges, I think, of having a baby is we don't know. I don't know anything about babies. So when people tell you stuff, you assume it's right because you just don't know. And one of my biggest stresses is, what do I not know? All the time, I'm like, I should be reading more. I should be watching videos. I should be doing classes. There's a wealth of information and I just don't know. And I think as a mother, you rely on midwives. When I was in the midwife, she was going through my birth plan and she was like, "Oh, do you want the vitamin K injection when you give birth?" And I was like, I don't know what that is. Like, I've literally no idea. And then often they talk to you like and that is also a big challenge, I think, because often you just like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But they talk in a sense of, what I'm talking about. And you're like, I don't know. People nowadays access information through their social media. Anyone can post anything on social media. So how do you know that's a reliable source? It's such a natural process. And I think that's something we've lost touch with. Almost like periods are a thing you don't talk about. And even like in Morrison's, they have a sign on the door about if you need a tampon, you're coming your period, go to customer service and say something like, "Is there a package for Sharon?" Which is good for people who are really, really uncomfortable. But can't we just say, "Can I have a tampon, please?"
Thanks for listening, and thanks to everyone involved, our funders, Cheshire and Merseyside Women's Health and Maternity Programme, Arts Council England Lottery Awards for their support, along with all the amazing mothers and partners who have helped to make this project happen. You can find out more about the project by visiting holdingtime.org.